Right, so we're here today with Ian Cutler again and his friend Bobby Cummings. That's Sir Bobby Cummings?
OBE.
OBE,
Yeah.
Bobby Cummings OBE. And Bobby has done a lot of work with Ian over the years at the News of the World, and has got a lot of the, well, it can back up what Ian's saying. And so we're going to hear from Bobby today. So thanks for talking to us, Bobby.
You're more than welcome.
And yeah, so I mean, let's get straight into it. I mean, so you worked at the News of the World with Ian? Yeah?
No, I didn't work at the News of the World with Ian. What happened was, years ago when I was young, there was Ray Chapman, Jerry Brown, all the News of the World reporters, and Ian as their photographer.
Yeah.
And they come onto our manor, and what they was looking for was people to make up stories. Well, what they did, Ray Chapman would come in with a script. He would pay people to rehearse the script with him.
Yeah.
And then once they had it off to Pat, he would then record it. So it seemed like a true interview, when in fact it wasn't. He'd bunged them a few quid, and these people didn't know what they was talking about, but they just read the script.
They just read the script,
got paid, and then he'd want photographs, because you had to have photographic evidence to prove the thing. So they would pay people. I mean, they paid me, and they paid a load of other people. And what we was really acting a part. It was like theatre. Yeah. So the whole thing was a theatre, you know.
And this is what I've been saying.
And this is what was really happening. Like the thing with Idi Amin's head in the fridge. Yeah. I mean, Jerry Brown and they was laughing about it. There was no head in the fridge, you know. It was just spoof because it sells newspapers.
Yeah.
Now, we used to get the Sunday newspaper when it came out and we'd laugh. We used to call it News of the Screws. Because not only was they screwing the people up who they was supposed to be representing, they were screwing each other. Yeah. I mean, they called it News of the Screws. It was the biggest sex, dope and alcoholic ring I'd ever seen in my life. Right? Yeah. All the reporters were either drunk, paedophiles, rape, you know, all the sort of filth.
The News of the World nurse,
all the filth they was writing about, they was doing it. But they weren't only doing it with the people they was paying, like the prostitutes and that they was paying, they was doing it with each other. So it was all there, you know. And I got a bit worried because I didn't know how, you know, though I was young at that time, I mean, it was in my days when I was a criminal. Yeah. But I didn't know how illegal this was. So I went up and I said to him, I want to see this guy, Rod Tyler.
So Rod Tyler
he was the editor.
At the time, at News of the World.
Yeah, and I went to see him and I said, look, my brother's doing a lot of this stuff. You know, he'd done the Stan Clark, the fucking...
That's right, so Stan Clark was your brother.
My brother.
He was a total fictional character.
He was an ex-fireman.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah, ex-fireman. So he was a straight goer, right? But they bunged him a nice few quid to put a trilby out on and an overcoat. I mean, we'd all dress up. You could dress up as a transvestite or whatever stories they was doing. Hold up, man.
He was wearing my overcoat.
That's right.
He
was wearing. Well, it's the same hat. If you get that press gun, it's the same hat on it. But they say, right, why don't you put a wig on, like look like a bird or something like that, or why don't you make like I did the moody photographer, wedding photographer thing, and the YMCA thing I'd done with them. Yeah. But like wear a crash helmet and all that sort of thing. But you know, we was getting paid well for it. So I went to see this Rod. So I went, now listen, I said, what's all this about? I said, because you know it's bollocks, I know it's bollocks, you know, we know it's a fake. Yeah. I said, is this criminal? He went, no, he said, you don't believe all you read in the newspapers, do you? He said, he said, look, it comes out, he said, the more gruesome it sounds and the more exciting it sounds, people buy newspapers. Yeah. He said, so...
sensationalised.
He said, so, I said, what about Murdoch? I said, who runs this? I said, does he know that's going on? He went, of course he does. He said, who's going to touch Murdoch? He's untouchable. He's got the dirt on everyone. That's what he said to me in that office. Yeah. Right? He said he could have anyone shut down. Now, is that powerful?
I've heard that. I've heard that.
So he said to me, he said, don't worry about it. He said, because at the end of the day, he said, all you are is actors. We're paying you to act out a part. Right? Yeah. So I said, so there's nothing dodgy. He went, no. He said, look, it comes out on a Sunday. By Monday, it's fish and chip paper and they're waiting for next week's. He said, like, it's fantasy. He said, but people like fantasy, he said, because they live such boring lives, they want to read about filth, he said, and crime. He said, why do you think people buy so many sex books and crime books?
That's how he's justifying. Yeah, but they're sex books and that are not passing themselves off as the official.
But this is it. But it's not until later on in years when I came out of prison and I did my Open University, that I realised the political implications to this.
Yeah.
Right? Because the dole scrounger thing, for instance, was a thing when Maggie Thatcher was actually trying to bring out the way of cutting down benefits.
Yeah.
So that's dole scrounger, bit of spoof, if you like.
Yeah.
That give her ammunition to say, look, all these people on the dole and they're working. So it looked like everyone on the dole was a dole scrounger.
Yeah.
So it gave her more political impetus, if you like, to push that through. And it's the same with like when they did, you know, like prostitution and all that, you know, like these brothels and all that. You know, we're living in such a decadent society that we've got to tighten up the law. So there's a political thing behind all these stories. Now, I realised this in later years because, one, I became chief executive of a national charity. Well, me and my friend started a charity off and we made it into a national charity and we was on the news and radio 24/7.
Yeah.
And then I started realising the political significance of what this was all about. I saw the bigger picture, if you like.
Yeah, yeah.
And when Ian approached me about what he was doing, I said, of course, I can tell the truth, because I became a specialist advisor for the House of Commons Home Affairs Select Committee on rehabilitation of offenders.
Right.
I also became, I was part of the Deputy Prime Minister's Advisory Group.
Right.
And I was also a specialist advisor in the Zaid Mubarak murder trial with Justice Keith.
Wow.
So I'm also a master of the Open University.
Yeah.
An honorary master. I was made an honorary master. I'm also a life fellow of the RSA, and I'm also an OBE. Yeah. And I got that from my charitable work. So I've come a long way from them days.
Yeah.
But it's only because the people I meet and the education I've followed that I've now realised the implication of what these fake stories did and how it's destroyed people's lives.
Yeah.
And when Ian said, I'm going to expose it, I said to him, OK, I'm with you on that, because nothing's stronger than the truth.
Yeah.
And people outside need to know that what they read in the newspapers, I mean, they're bringing a lot up now about fake media, fake news. It's been faked from the day Murdoch started over there.
This is what makes me laugh.
You know, it's been going on for years. How many people have been convicted of crimes that they haven't committed because of fake news?
Well, I'm one of them.
Well, this is it, what I'm saying. Even if you're found not guilty, some of the mud still sticks on people. It stops them getting employment.
That's right.
And also, when you're dealing with someone as powerful as the Murdoch Empire, right, people are terrified of people like these. They're like demigods. Yeah. And what they do, they just say Murdoch and people back away.
I've seen it for myself, Bobby.
They back away.
I've walked in solicitors without phone tapping evidence. They've looked at it, gone, this is outrageous.
Yeah.
And I've gone, oh no, can you deal with it?
Yeah, but who is going to go? If you're like Private Eye or you're someone like that, all right, you'll have a little pop at Murdoch, you know, you'll have little slight digs. But if you go on saying heavy like this, and this is heavy, this is evidence here, right?
This is real.
If you go on saying like that, now the big guns come out. Now, don't forget, he had control over the police, he had control over judges, he had control over politicians, because he's got the dirt on all of them, so they can't disagree with him.
All the people you just mentioned,
yeah,
I can prove to be bent also.
Yeah, but
prove it.
But the thing is, even if they knew what he was doing was outrageously wrong, and he was behind it, it would be like saying that I run an egg factory, and I don't know how my staff are boxing my eggs. It's ridiculous.
It is ridiculous,
right?
Because it's your company.
It's my company.
And you wouldn't know
and I'd want to know everything that was going on.
Yeah.
And if I thought there was an ounce of corruptness in there, right, then I would instantly dismiss those people. They would be gone. But he didn't. He encouraged them people to create more fictitious stories, right? More powerful media, not only for his gain but also political gain.
For political gain,
right?
This is where
this is how they was controlling the police, because the police they was helping the police to secure convictions with these articles.
Yeah.
They were also
CPS
also the other media. You know, because everyone jumped on the bandwagon because they thought some of the medias who were playing it straight actually thought that these stories were true, so they would follow up on them, which would give them more credibility, right? And then you go a step further than that. The police were in such a situation, like with phone tapping and stuff like that was all coming out, they couldn't afford to upset him. because if they upset him, he would get in touch with his MPs. The MPs would get in touch with the Home Secretary. The Home Secretary would go, slow down a bit, right? And then if it did get out of hand, then you'd have the judges, if it did get to court, would go, well, bury the case because he knows I take a bit of coke, or he knows I'm a paedophile, or something like that. So he was very clever. He has been very clever, and he's a very clever man. You don't get...
It's manipulative.
You don't get to that sort of power, right, unless you've got the ammunition to fire at all the other warriors.
Yeah.
Right? You have to have that little secret lock away where if you ever go at me, I can say this about you. What about that?
Well, we know that he's been that way because he's hired people like Ray Chapman.
Yeah, well, Ray Chapman, I mean...
That's got to be a perfect example.
That man, I mean, when he come round and was doing the fake stories, I think he'd done about 4 with us. 4 fake stories, you know, with the people in my manor at the time, because I was running that manor at the time. Yeah. He come round, because I was a villain in them days. I weren't a gangster, I was a villain, right? I earned my money out of crime. But when he come round and he was doing them fake stories, we next found out that not only was he paying people to make fake stories, that he was shagging prostitutes, he was, you know, sodomising them. All this was going on. Now, this was well known in the news of the world. In fact, there was one guy in the news of the world, Trevor Kempton.
The one with AIDS?
Yeah, I mean, he got AIDS through it, you know. And they was all degenerates. And they used to have parties where they'd all be snorting the coke, doing up with them, dying with booze trouble, liver damage.
Yeah. Well, there you go, Jerry Brown.
Yeah, he's died over it, right?
16.
Yeah, and then you've got the other mob who are on the okey-cokey and all sorts of drugs. I mean, basically, the people that they were supposed to be condemning, they were worse than the people because they were actually doing it.
And half of the stories they were reporting on were made up anyway.
Well, half the stories, they were very good at making them up because they were doing it.
Yeah.
So if they wanted to make it sordid and nasty, all they had to do was reflect on their own actions and give it to someone else to read out.
Well,
so that's how it was going on.
Yeah.
And then no way. Now, Rod Tyler definitely knew what was going on because he said to me, he went, look, it's all comic stuff anyway.
Because you've got to say, oh, my brother ain't going to fucking get in trouble through doing some of your stories.
And I got heavy with him. I said, because you know something? I said, you don't want to mess with me. I said, because I will come round and I will hurt you, right? And he went, look, don't get like that. He said, have a drink with us later. He said, it's all fucking fiction anyway. He said, all right, he said, do you think after this really happens? He said, we all know. He said, all the newspapers doing it. He said, it's entertainment. He said, that's what it is, entertainment value. Now, it's funny. He said,
entertainment. It's called the news of the world.
Yeah, but he said it's entertainment, right? So now he's saying it's entertainment, right? Ain't entertainment for all those people out there reading and thinking I've got to look up my kids because there's heroin dealers on every street corner. My daughter can't go out at 10 o'clock at night because there's all these paedophiles and rapists about.
Yeah.
You know, it creates an atmosphere of fear. Now,
propaganda,
the political currency, if you like, of that is I want to bring in legislation that is very unpopular. Yeah. What I do, I create a fake story that everyone's mind goes on that and they don't look at the legislation that I'm going to introduce. Yeah. So it goes through without a hitch, and normally it's done over night time.
Problem, reaction, solution.
Right. So what you do, you throw up the smoke screen of that, then you do your real villainy, your political villainy, right? And then it goes through, and then all of a sudden someone says, well, where did these special measures come out? Oh, it's been there, we passed it in Parliament, no one, went against it. Yeah. Of course they didn't go against it, because they read about paedophiles in the news of the world, and drug dealers
they're moving on it, so it's create the problem, get the reaction from the public,
It's called refocusing. Now, years ago you had tabloid that they played it by the book, right? Then you had the rogue things coming, like this Murdoch thing, the fantasists, if you like, that come in and went, right, we're going to create stories, right? Yeah. So people were so used to digesting real news that when the fake news come out, they digested that and believed it. Yeah. And because it had news of the world, right?
Yeah. And also backed up by various different news.
Yeah, but the thing is, this is what I'm saying. Once you get a story blow up, right? It's so good that people watching it. Now, if you've got a television, say BBC or something like that, that comes out in the news of the world, they go, cool, how many papers that sold. Next morning, that's on the news because they want to get their ratings up. It all goes hand in hand. Yeah. So if the newspapers say it, and then next thing it's on the BBC or ITV or Sky or whatever, right, they're looking at it, it's a good story. Yeah. That's what it is, a good story, right? Then they all jump on the bandwagon to get their ratings up. Because if they don't put it on the news, their ratings go down because people go, oh, that's a better news channel. You get more information.
So getting in the way of real people getting real news of real events that are going on is a
it's a business.
It's a political agenda going on underneath, which is
of course
some kind of race for power.
Of course it is.
Which is getting in the way.
And
of
it doesn't
truth.
matter. It doesn't matter what party's in, right? They all are terrified of the press because you can make or break a politician through the press.
Yeah.
Now, when you've got an organisation as powerful as Murdoch's,
Yeah.
you can make and break a person.
Well, that's why everyone's got
right,
to be.
and that is why everyone backs down. But the greatest thing is when you look at the reality and you think, like, this has got to come out. Because not only does it affect us that are living now, it's going to affect our children and our generations of children, because they're going to pick that up and they're going to read that and say, that was what was happening in 1970, 1980, and we're living in better times now. No, they're not. They're still at it. Yeah, it's still happening. You've got the group of people that own 2% of the world's wealth, right? Like 4 people or whatever. Yeah. There's a group of people that own that, and they control what you think, what you read.
Bilderberg Group.
Yeah. All the lot. And they sit there and the politicians are all involved in it.
Yeah.
Because if like for instance, if you get a judge who thinks, no, I believe in law and order, and he comes out against them, you'll find a little snippet in the newspaper that he's either a paedophile or he's took drugs or they dig out something shady in his background, and they blow it all out of proportion, and if they can't find it, they'll make it up. Now, even if he can prove he didn't do it, it's still stuck on him.
It's still stuck because they put it out there in black and white.
And if they do a disclaimer, it's a very little one. Right? Very little disclaimer. Oh, we got it wrong.
Yeah, you'll miss that.
But the damage is done because it's been front page news.
Yeah.
And that is the reality of this. And it is the reality of that book that Ian's done. It's a wonder they ain't shot him.
Yeah.
Because they could have given him a car accident or anything like that.
Yeah. Well, he's had the fucking lick round the head in Spain.
That's right. Yeah, but that's what I'm saying.
Cool.
You could be. I mean, they could fit you up with guns and say, he's an armed robbery, he's an assassin, or all this sort of shit. They can do it. And a gullible member of the public, because the public are gullible in a lot of ways, they will sit there.
They believe in this stuff that they think is news, and it's not.
But this is it. I mean, there was only a case a couple of weeks back where they labelled a guy a paedophile for a brick through his window written on the head, and the guy had never been a paedophile. Yeah. But because their rumour went about, and not only that, they're very cunning, is if they're going to do something, they go into an area and spread that propaganda about so it becomes gossip, and then the next thing, they go in and do an expose on it.
Yeah, and then
people go, oh yeah, I heard that was going on.
Yeah,
yeah. So when you pick up people, like the best place, going to a pub, and say, do you know that down the road, like there was a right dodgy thing going on with paedophiles and all that, or gay people closeting in the toilet or whatever, right? Then when they expose it, because it'll go around the pub, and then the guy goes to work and he tells his mates about, up in Finsbury Park, there's a big, cottage in gaff, where gay people meet and they're up to all business. Then it comes out in the newspaper about Finsbury Park cottage in, right? Oh yeah, we knew about that, and then it becomes a reality.
Yeah.
Fantasy becomes reality. Yeah. So what you're looking at here is organised, right, brainwashing.
Yeah.
There's a big thing out, about phone hacking.
Yeah.
And we know it's been going on for years and years, phone hacking and bugging people's houses and then entering people's houses without warrants while they're out, right, and placing bugs in there, right? And then you've got to look at is that if you can do that, and now they're bringing this new thing in, now all about this Muslim terrorism, right? Now,
this is the new enemy.
It's the new enemy. The new enemy is the Muslim terrorist, Muslim extremist, right?
Yeah.
Now, when the IRA was blowing up England, right, we didn't say Catholic terrorists. We didn't bring religion into it. There was the Irish Republican Army, the IRA.
Yeah.
Yeah, as soon as you get a criminal, and that's what they're not terrorists, they're terrorists, but you get these people going around doing these atrocities, straight away they bring Islam into it. Now, what they're doing the same thing that they've done for hundreds of years. It's called divide and rule. You've got to have someone, right, who you can say, he's the bad guy, watch him, because while you're watching him, you ain't watching me, right? And that's where they creep this legislation in, like the new legislation, they're giving the police more powers for survellent.
Yeah, more basic search stuff coming back. And now I think I've read the other
so
day.
it'd be.
Why ain't they, if they're so hell bent on pointing this stuff at Muslims, what they're creating, why are they protecting the ones in Rotherham in the grooming gangs?
That's right. because
they're not mentioning.
but if you
Asian
noticed, right, when it come out about the paedophiles that are MPs and in the Lords and in the High Courts and all that went away very quickly.
Yeah.
Right, we read about everyone else, working class paedophiles and all that sort of thing, but when it started touching the political scene and the judiciary and the other scenes, that got buried very quickly.
Yeah, Teddy.
Right, it all gets buried very quickly, because you know what the kids call the House of Commons and the House of Lords now?
No.
The kids, because I speak to the young gangs and people like that, they call it the House of Common and the House of Frauds.
Yeah.
All right?
Yeah.
So the young people are really clued up on what is happening,
Yeah.
because that's why they're trying to cut back on the education, because what they realise, now you've got educated kids who ask questions, awkward questions, they sooner have them going on apprenticeships where they're breaking bricks and painting walls, and because they're not politically aware, where kids are now getting politically aware and they're asking a lot of questions. And you only got to look at the riots in Tottenham, where the young people have had enough, right? They sat back and watched it, and you know why? Because they said, right, if we push this, it might really go off in this country. But secondly, also, we can show these demonise the young people in there, so they become the enemy. We're protecting the majority of you, and these are this fraction group that are looting and doing all this.
So people coming out with the telly.
Oh, of course. But they don't show you pictures of, say, of a young black kid jumping into a river to save someone's life, or giving someone CPR because they've had an heart attack, or what a Muslim family might do for a tramp on the street and feed them. They don't show you the good stuff.
No.
But they demonise the same. Same as they're demonising our young people now, because that means that they can bring more law enforcement in until you become, in the end, a police state.
Yeah, basically.
You know, you've got a thing like the Nastasi.
We're well on the way to it. Of course. If not already
look, it's getting like the Nastasi, where you've got neighbours spying on each other. Like, it started off neighbour watch, nice ain't it? But basically it's spying on your neighbour.
Yeah.
Right? So they're already getting that
we're policing together. Each other.
We're policing each other,
other.
And they're collating information. You go out, you spend it on a credit card. They know where you shop, what you spend on, what your favourite items are, right? And what that is called is psychological profiling.
Yeah.
Okay? So now they've got to profile you, so they know your strengths and weaknesses, and they will use that against you.
They know what food you eat.
They will use that against you. So they say, okay, he likes to go to this nightclub. Now, what do we know about this nightclub? So that if ever they picture, well, he knocks about the dodgy group in this nightclub who sell drugs. Right, there might be a few people who've nicked in here with drugs, but all of a sudden you've become part of that firm.
Yeah.
So they're very clever on how they profile you.
Yeah.
They know what area you're going to live in, what type of people you're going to mix with, what type of music you like. You know, you've already got a Nastasi, a police state. They're doing it. And now with the help of the newspaper, right, they put it in their minds of the masses. This is the truth. This is what's happening. We're protecting you. When in fact, what they're doing is writing nice fairy stories. You might as well, if you're going to read the news, making loads of money out of it. And if you want to read facts, and you're reading these type of newspapers, the News of Well, what we're talking about here, right? You might as well go and buy the Beano, because you'll get as much facts out of the Beano than you will out of there, you know, because at least you know you're reading a comic.
Yeah.
And that's what that was. That was a comic.
Yeah.
And that's why they shut it down really rapidly, because it was coming on top.
I shut that down.
Because it was coming on top.
Yeah.
Because people started becoming wise to it. And like with this, and rightly so. You know, but it takes a brave person, because you're talking about, as I say, a demigod here, who's got so much power, and everyone's frightened of him, but it's like everyone else who has power. Like Jimmy Savile had a lot of power, but when it come on top and people were brave enough to come forward and go, that happened to me, that happened to me, that happened to me, then you bring them down.
Yeah.
It's the David and Goliath syndrome.
Yeah.
The little man one day has enough and he throws the stone and the whole lot falls down.
Yeah.
Then you expose them for what they really are, and that's hopefully what this will do now.
Yeah.
Right?
So do I,
and I hope a lot of people come
forward. How are we
forward.
going to move forward, Bobby, in this country with all the things that are going on, if we can't even... If we haven't got any respect for each other, and we can't even learn to help one another,
well, it's not only that.
Fucked, you know, if we can't do that,
it's not only that. I mean, Tony Blair, take for instance, we went to war on a lie.
Well, I've heard a story there.
Right,
whether it's true.
Went to war on a lie. And Tony Blair, really, if you look at Tony Blair's politics, he was conservative with a small c. Now, he would never have raised to Prime Minister in the Conservative Party. So he joined Labour because he was a good showman. He joined Labour. He was a good orator, highly intelligent, went to Cambridge, right? And so through them ranks, he was able to get a group round him and convert it into New Labour. Well, New Labour is really conservative under a small c, right? And so he was able to con the people. When the shit was hitting the fan, he thought, got to get out of here, pass that on to Gordon Brown, because he wants to be a Prime Minister, and he can take the fall guy. Teflon Tony, they used to call Tony.
Yeah.
Nothing sticks to him. So it's pass it on to him. The fall guy's thought, I'm a Prime Minister now. He's took it on, he's took the dive, right? Because he wanted to be the top guy. Tony Blair had it in his sights. I'm going to be the top guy, like a Prime Minister of Europe. That's what, and he come undone, because all the other Europeans knew what he was about, knew he was working with the likes of Murdoch and all that mob, and they stuffed him, and that's now why he's doing the circuit, right, earning a few quid, a nice few quid. I mean,
I've seen him doing a couple of talks. I've seen him do one.
He's a very clever man, and he's a very good speaker.
He was trying to play the godly route on the last one I saw of him.
And also, with Blair, he's very plausible. Very, very plausible. And he's got that way with him. He's a charmer, a good con man. And when they said the House of Con Men and the House of Frauds, I had to laugh when the kids said that to me, because I thought, you don't know how true that is.
Yeah.
You know, because I've walked through them corridors of power, and you can see them all horse trading. You know, I say this, you say that, and they're all working off each other.
Yeah.
And that is where it was really sad when you had the Conservatives and the Lib Dems join. Now, if Nick Clegg had had a bit more backbone, he would have been Prime Minister. But he was pressured because they wanted to get in power, because that had been in power for a long time.
He was part of that whole scam as well, because the child abuse activist that I spoke to you about just now, Bill Maloney, sends me footage once he was there that day when they all came out to speak on the green, and Bill Maloney's up in his face going, I spoke to you last time, I asked you about institutional child abuse, and he goes on me about tax cuts and walks off. Yeah. And there was that was set up, because after that, I mean, number one, Bill Maloney got that close to Nick Clegg's face. You're not getting that close to the Deputy Prime Minister.
Put me on a television programme or a radio programme, and I've been on lots of them, right, with an MP that can answer a straight question, yes or no.
Yeah.
You will never meet an MP who can say yes or no.
Answer a question with a question.
They go round all the houses, they try and divert the conversation, right, but they'll never give you a straight yes or no. Yeah. And that is because they're afraid. Now, what you've got to look at with MPs, right? That an MP should be in the service of the Queen, his country, and his voters, the people, right? They don't. They're in the service of their own interest and the interest of their party.
Who are we talking about? The
politicians.
The politicians.
The bent politicians. Yeah. Now, when you've got the politicians, the judges are there, and the judges now are really worried maybe that we'll go down the American route, right, where they get elected. Now, if they allow it to happen, how many of them old judges will be sitting on the benches? Look in the House of Lords, how many of them are asleep on the bench?
Yeah, I think
they're the biggest dosser you've ever met in your life, and they get paid.
Don't they get paid to turn up though?
They get paid. They get
300 quid or something.
They get paid to turn up, and also they get subsidised lunches and that sort of stuff in their own thing. Yeah. But you look how many of them actually contribute to conversation or legislation. They're asleep. We used to call it was a little nickname we give it, all us advisors, we used to call it God's waiting room.
God's waiting room.
Right, because they used to be there waiting to die. God's waiting room, right?
Yeah.
And when you look at it, that's what they're doing. They're just hiring out their time. You've got Kinnock and all them. They're all sitting there now. They're all old men, seeing the end of their days out on a free meal ticket and not having to do that much. Yeah. Just turn up and get them paid.
Turn up, get a quick 300 quid, go back to Dolphin Square, get a couple of grams of gear and a couple of brassies and McDonald's.
That's it. and while you're in London, if you're out the constituency, while you're in London, you get a London flat. So you know you're living basically rent free.
You're living for fuck off. All you've got to do is turn up.
And the food is very nice in the House of Lords, because I've actually been to dinner with them.
Well, they going to serve up shit.
And it comes down to nothing, because they got their own cards, you know, and they've got allowances for that and this and that. But when you come to look at it, it is one big game.
Yeah.
Where you've got the three biggest players, and the three biggest players is the media, the politicians, and the judiciary. Yeah. They're the three big players.
And they all work together.
And no one's going to touch them.
With the old Bill helping.
And it's been, of course, when I say the judiciary, and also, I'm talking about the police, the whole... All right, I'll give you a little for instance, because they're always writing about crime in the newspaper. If I found a solution to end crime overnight, you wouldn't have probation officers. You'd have big redundancies. You'd have no probation officers, no lawyers, no judges, no policemen, because everyone's a law-abiding citizen.
Yeah.
No prisons,
Yeah.
so all the prison officers would be out of work.
Yeah.
So is it in their interest to rehabilitate people
No.
in prison? No, it's not, because they're going to put themselves out of a job.
Yeah.
Is it in their interest to make the streets so safe that there's no crime out there? No, because people will say, well, why do we need this many
There's
policemen?
no money in the common
Right.
law of the land,
No.
upholding the common law.
No.
There's money in legislation.
Legislation,
and
of
it's the
course,
legal world
and
where you
then
need a-
then you'd have the university professors out of work because no research had to be done, because there'd be a crime-free society.
Yeah,
So when you come to look at it, the whole thing is
a
just
business.
one big business.
yeah. It's all about money.
Even the church,
Yeah.
the churches own more land than anyone, right? You can't come back and say, here, Saint, God is a black man or whatever, because then that'll do them out of business. So they play on people's fears.
Yeah.
Politicians
All
play
of
on
it, the
people's
whole
fears.
thing is, and if
The
you think
judiciary,
about it-
you look at the sentence.
They can't physically go round and control everyone physically, so the only way to do it is to do it by propaganda and control by
Propaganda in
Control by fear.
newspapers like these guys created.
fear. Yeah.
Right? Propaganda like these guys created
Yeah.
in newspapers hold this system together.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Held this system together.
Yeah.
Because without the fictional stories, it would be very boring newspaper and no one would be buying it,
Yeah.
and people might start asking questions.
Yeah.
So if they're getting food spoon-fed, right, detritus, right, and they're eating it on a regular basis, and you tell them it's porridge, and they believe that's porridge, they're going to keep eating it.
Keep eating it, yeah.
But you tell them, no, what you're eating actually comes out the back of a cow, right? They ain't going to want to eat it.
Yeah.
So it's in everyone's interest to keep up this propaganda thing. You've only got to look at Hitler.
Yeah.
The propaganda he put out
Yeah.
over the Jews.
Yeah.
6 million people died over that. That is how dangerous fake news is.
Yeah.
And that is why these things have got to be exposed. Got to look at Saddam Hussein. Right, who put him in power?
Yeah.
The British, the CIA.
Yeah.
Right, when he stopped doing what they tell him,
Yeah.
he got overthrown. Gaddafi,
Yeah.
another
Yeah,
one.
I know, I watched
You know,
that,
you
man.
look at Syria now.
Getting punched
They-
up in the
they-
street by people and all
Yeah,
that.
you look at Syria now. You've got Assad in there, right? But you look at them cities; they're destroyed,
Yeah.
right? And
When they lied about that, about his chemical attacks,
Yeah.
because we've heard about it, but we ain't seen it.
Yeah.
We've seen no proof.
And also, they want to go in and test it for chemical. Oh no, it's a bit dangerous around here, so we're going to keep you out until we can do a mop-up job.
Well, they're assuming already
yeah.
by saying that
Yeah.
it's the chemical
Yeah.
thing is real.
Yeah.
It's been assumed
Yeah.
even
Yeah.
within the, well, we can't
Yeah.
go there yet because it's, therefore it
Yeah.
must be real.
But it's the same as like the Idi Amin thing,
It's Idi Amin, I was going
right?
to say that, yeah.
Idi Amin thing in the newspaper. He was a corporal,
He
right?
was told to
But-
say that he had weapons of mass
Yeah.
destruction.
Yeah.
That's the
I
Tony
fucking
Blair
said
scenario,
that.
Mark
Yeah,
1.
yeah.
That's the Tony Blair
Yeah.
scenario, Mark 1.
Yeah, but the thing is, when you get, if you, there's an old saying, you fool some of the people all the time, fool some of the people some of the time, but you can't fool all the people all of the time. And I think this time is coming now,
Yeah.
where people's eyes are open and they must ask questions.
Yeah.
And when
Social media is-
and social media is the
That's
greatest
what's
way
done it. That's what's done it.
because. Well, now they're even talking about censoring social media,
I know.
so you don't get
I
the
know.
truth.
Well,
you know,
my
and it-
Twitter accounts
Yeah.
have come down so many times for
Yeah.
just telling the truth,
Yeah.
backing it up,
Yeah.
your account's been suspended. Everything is controlled. You're not
Yeah.
supposed to get your word out there. They don't want the truth out
Look,
there, and that's
they-
clear.
they
I mean,
don't-
look what they're doing to that little boy at the minute, Alfie Evans.
Yeah,
Right, turning off his life support. You've had a specialist in Poland pop up recently and say that boy is not in the condition that hospital was saying that he was in, but they're happy to turn him off. And the judge, it's been appealed 3 times.
Yeah.
No, turn it off. The fuck? Why is it so hard to go? Well, the
Look.
Pope's piped up now. Well, send him over there. Let's see if he can be.
Look,
helped.
the thing
they
is-
don't want you knowing that cannabis oil will fucking bring you back round.
right. But they also what you've got to look at this, right? We're talking about cannabis, right?
Yeah.
Or drug. People want to take drugs. They're doing this big war on drugs. If you legalise drugs tomorrow,
Yeah,
you get rid of the criminal element,
yeah.
right? So
people are
therefore,
gonna take them anyway, Bob.
people are not getting stabbed and shot on the street, right? Because they can go to a legitimate shop. Also, if people are on heroin or whatever, they have checks in the hospital because they're not afraid to go to the hospital. They don't have to share needles,
Yeah.
right? So what you've got then is damage limitation. So one, you've taken out the earning of the criminal element in the
Yeah.
drug field,
Yeah.
and secondly, you've taken out the corrupt police who earn money off the drug dealers,
Yeah.
right? And thirdly, you took guns and knives off the street because there's nothing to fight about.
Oh,
People
so-
have been taking drugs since Roman times.
Yeah.
Right?
Probably
They've
before then.
been having orgies and prostitutes since Rome. So you look at all the countries where prostitution is legal.
Yeah.
Do you know
right?
what?
Hold up a minute. Eh? All the prostitution is legal. There's less AIDS, there's less sickness, and all the people are clean and they're well
And it's
checked out.
controlled and
And it's
looked after.
controlled. And also, they're paying taxes.
Yeah.
Now, if you had cannabis come in and they went, right, we're going to legalise it, like they do on cigarettes, like they do on booze,
No
like they're
one's-
doing there on sugary
No
drinks,
one's ever died
you could
from
have
cannabis.
you could-
No one's ever died from it. There's
No,
not
but a lot
one.
of-
There's not one out there.
No,
There's
but a
not
lot of people die from car crashes,
Yeah,
but they don't
and
ban
alcohol.
cars and alcohol.
Alcohol's the top killer,
Yeah,
and it's
and
legal.
you've got to look at the church. How many paedophile cases coming out there?
I know.
You know,
I know.
when it said "suffer little children come unto me," Jesus said it didn't mean rump 'em.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
what you've got to look at is these sort of things. You go up, for instance, I'll go up for an armed robbery, right? I'm looking at a 30-year stretch, right? I mess about with your child, you're getting 18 months,
Yeah.
4 years.
Yeah.
And you know why? Because they're all frightened that the finger might put, if they go, well, what about you? One of them paedophiles might say, well, hold up, I was in a paedophile gang with you.
Yeah, what about you?
Yeah.
What about you?
I mean,
Yeah, yeah.
you had police involved
I know.
in it. I mean, you've got to look
I
at
said
it.
it to Operation Neutral.
You-
I had them Randy giving them
you-
this
you-
Andrew Ash
you-
evidence.
you've
And I
got
said
to have
him,
it.
You've got them in your place.
You've got
mate.
to have it. Also, with that young girl, Damilola Taylor, was it? What's her name?
No, that was wasn't that the boy?
Damilola Taylor. Yeah, no, he was. Who was the one where they tapped her little phone?
Oh, did you talk about Millie Daly?
Millie
The
Daly.
girl that was done the same.
Do you
month
know
as
Bless
me.
her,
Same month
bless her,
as me, Bobby.
bless her beautiful heart. Now they had that girl. They was tapping people's phones,
Yeah,
right, and they denied it.
yeah.
Right. Take also
Do you
the
know
Birmingham.
why?
Right. Take.
Do you know why? Do you know why? You used to know Levi Belfield, who supposedly killed Millie Daly?
Yeah.
Right, they'd known about him for 8 years and he had 90 previous convictions. So who was sorry old Bill? The same old Bill that gave Mulcair, Neville Felbeck, Millie Daly's mobile number the day she went missing on the 21st of March. What a sorry old Bill hiding. Who at sorry old Bill knows Levi Belfield? Because someone knows him.
Well, not
because-
only that. What you've got to look at, we're getting back to this fake news.
Yeah, yeah,
You had the Birmingham 6,
yeah,
the Guildford 4,
yeah,
right? Special branch involved,
Yeah.
all the lot involved in that. Newspapers was full of it.
Yeah.
They was tried by the newspapers, Murdoch's and all them. They were tried and found guilty by the newspapers.
Yeah.
Only down to their QC going in there and getting the wrong file did them guys go free. Now I knew them guys in jail,
Yeah.
right? You imagine, some of their family died in there, remember? Right? You imagine doing 25 years in prison for a crime you did not commit. And you had the IRA actually saying it wasn't them, it was us. Actually admitting it was them. But they covered it up and covered it up. Did anyone get nicked for that? No. I think if you fit someone up and you're a copper and you're in a position of trust, a position of power,
Yeah.
right? You should do that sentence that that judge weighed that innocent person off on.
Yeah.
You should get that sentence for your corruption,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Also, there's another thing you must look at, and you must look at it very seriously when you're looking at if something terrible happens, like a bomb goes off, right? The newspapers are so much into the old Bill's face that they've got to get a body. And so if they ain't got you, they're going to have anybody.
yeah.
And you could be that innocent person banged up for 25 years knowing you haven't done it. There's been lots of miscarriages of justice
Yeah.
now coming into the
Believe it.
open, right? But it don't give you back those years
No.
that you spent in prison, your family destroyed, your business is lost, everything, because they needed a body, anybody.
Yeah.
And that's what the newspapers done, because the newspapers build it up, because what they want to do, they want to sell newspapers. They're sweetening up the MPs. Oh, we're going to make you look good. We caught the terrorists. No, they ain't. They're back in Ireland,
Yeah.
right? So, no, but we got a body for you. So this is your scapegoat, and you're all going to give
That's
each
it,
other a
your
pat on the
scapegoat.
back
That's
and
the
say
one.
how good special branches and how good that is and that. Yeah, on innocent people who've never been in trouble with the old bill in their life, right? 25 years. Paddy Hill, I mean, he used to come up my office and see me when I was running my charity. And I knew Paddy, he's a decent guy, Paddy. Destroyed him, destroyed his family,
Fucking would be.
destroyed
25
everything.
years is a
right?
fucking
And that
long
is,
time.
to me, that is unforgivable. Unforgivable. And it's atrocious that is allowed to happen, but it's still happening. There's kids been shot dead in cars saying they had a firearm, black kids, right? They say, well, the black people hate us, you know, these kids hate us. Why should they respect you when you don't respect them?
They don't respect them.
You know, you're going out and you're doing the stop and search thing, you're fitting them up with a bit of gear, or they're driving along in a car and someone pulls up and fires about 5 bullets into you and you're dead and you ain't even got a shooter in the motor.
Yeah.
So now, what you've done, you've created a war on society
Yeah.
where the guy in the street ain't safe now because these young black kids are going, well, look, if they're going to kill me, I'm going to carry a tool.
Yeah.
Because if you go out armed, people come looking for you with guns. So if the old people are going out trigger happy, right, then the young kids on the street are going to go, well, hold up a minute, you're going to shoot me, I'm going to shoot you back.
Yeah.
And so now you've got a little civil war created here,
Yeah.
right, all down to fake news.
Yeah.
And that's what this is about.
Yeah.
And these are the people that are guilty of it.
Yeah.
People like
Well,
Murdoch and that.
Absolutely.
You know, like,
Absolutely. Fucking absolutely.
Of my stories, every one of them was fake.
Well, you know, and you've admitted that. And you're a brave man for admitting that. Because they could destroy your life. I mean, they're
don't
that
give a
powerful.
fuck.
They could destroy your life, you know. Don't go. And I'm sitting here today. I ain't done me a lot of favours sitting here. You know, I'm pretty sweet. You know, I've got my OBE and all the rest of that thing. I'm pretty sweet. But I think this truth needs to come out. And it needs to come out now. And I don't care about the comeback. Right? Because now, in the morning, I've got to get up and I've got to look at myself in the mirror.
Yeah.
And I've got to like myself.
Yeah.
And now it's all coming out. I like myself.
Yeah.
All right?
Yeah.
Because I'm thinking of our children as future, children that are going to be killed because of new legislation coming out and because of newspapers printing that it's like everyone's got a gun. So the next kid in the next book thinks, oh, well, everyone else has got one, I better get one.
Yeah.
So you're encouraging violent crime.
It is like that. It is like that.
You know?
I mean, I know a couple of like, young a lot round there and that, and so not violent at all, but feel like they've got to carry something because
I talk to kids in schools and I go, listen, fools carry tools, mugs take drugs. If you go out with a tool, someone comes looking for you, they're going to come looking for you with a tool, and you're 33 times more likely to die or be seriously injured through violent crime because you're carrying it. Not that you want to use it. And also with your girlfriend, you might love your girlfriend. If you're dealing in the gear and you don't pay that guy out one time, he ain't going to come out of the motor and shake your hand. He's coming out with a razor or a blade or a gun and he's going to shoot you. Now, you've just had a young girl walking along the street, nothing to do with drugs, nothing to do with anything, got killed by drive-by shooting.
Yeah.
Because everyone's believing now that young kids have got guns, especially young black kids, because they seem to put this on a lot of black kids, you know.
Yeah.
I know a lot of black people that are very nice, hard-working people,
Same
a
here, mate.
lot of Muslims that are very good,
Same here.
hard-working,
Same
law-abiding
here.
citizens.
And what they want to do is say
they
one.
demonise them.
Yeah, yeah, that's exactly what's going
You know,
on.
and it's exactly what I said. When you had the IRA blowing up England, they didn't say Catholic terrorists. They didn't demonise the Catholic Church because it's a very powerful church, right? They didn't demonise that. They kept that religion right out of it. But as soon as you get a young Indian, Pakistan kid or something like that who's a Muslim terrorist, hold up, well, why bring his religion into it? He's a terrorist.
Yeah, you're right.
Why bring his religion into it?
Listen, I've always said it like...
Because what they've done, they've demonised the guy in the corner shop who gives your mum a bit of credit, you know, nice people that are working hard, doing jobs basically that we wouldn't want to do, right? They run their little Indian restaurants, they're working round the clock, all the families working, all paying taxes, right? But the government, as I said, they want to divide and rule.
Yeah.
So if they ain't got a demon here,
We need a...
they
we need
create a demon.
Yeah, we've got to have a Mr. Nasty
Yeah.
to point it all
Murdoch
out.
Bent,
Yeah,
Exactly, new Mr. Nasty.
you know, like, he's bent, isn't he?
yeah.
And,
Well, he's got to be, because, look, no one in their right mind could honestly believe that man didn't know what was going on in his own organisation. It's as simple as that.
Yeah.
They've been done.
But you're only held to account
Right.
by what comes out your mouth,
They,
you know? This is the
but they
problem.
got done with Rebecca
Brooks, Andy Coulson.
Yeah, they all got done,
Yeah.
right? So that was going on.
Well,
Now,
he got off. He weren't found guilty
No,
of perjury,
but-
he should be.
But they got done. Now, they were close to Murdoch. You couldn't get closer to Murdoch than anyone. They go down the scale. And they're watching their people. Because why they're watching their people is to make sure that person ain't going to nick their job.
Yeah.
Right? Because that's how people of power think. I've got to watch the one closest to me. And I've got to keep them close and find out what's going on in case he ever tries or she ever tries to get my job. I've got the dirt on them. So that goes down the line. So that comes up the line. What goes down the line comes up the line. Right?
Yeah.
It's two-way communication.
Yeah.
So they knew all that was going on.
Yeah.
Did they do anything to stop it? No, they encouraged it.
Yeah.
They give people expense accounts to bribe people.
Yeah, and it was quite good money.
And it was good money, yeah.
What, and we're talking in the 80s, about
Yeah.
£3,000.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a budget to get the job done.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so all the booze was free, you know, everything was free.
So life was a party.
It was-
Like, it must have been a
it-
buzz being able to do what you
Oh,
want.
Ian, how would you like to sit in your front room, right? I'll go, you go out with your camera, get me a couple of guys, bung a few quid. I'm writing a story about, I don't know, pixies in your garden, right? So we want a couple of geezers and a woman dressed up as a pixie and a fairy and shrink it down and we put it in there and say, this over in Stamford Hill, we found pixies and fairies in this geezer's garden and you're giving me £3,000, right? And I'm bunging him a few £100 to dress up as pixies, right? It's a nice bit of business, and all the public going, oh, did you know over in Stamford Hill there's pixies in that geezer's garden?
Yeah.
I told you how it works. They go into pubs, they spread the groundwork first with gossip.
Yeah.
Then when they fake the story,
It's
people go, yeah, I heard about that.
I heard about that, yeah.
And so it becomes then a reality. Then the big news channels get on it, the TV channels, thinking, well, look, how many newspapers this is sold. This is a top story. Bang. So now they, knowingly or
So they're
unknowingly...
going into the psychology of everything, even when they're having the meetings about how they're going to
Oh,
do
of course.
this. It's psychology
Listen, when
involved and everything.
they're sitting there, and I could imagine when they're sitting there. I mean, 'cause in politics we sit there and you talk about things like, well, what do we need? How do we need to make the public feel safe? You know, we've got these terrible knife crimes happening in schools, and then we'd sit there and we think, well, you need to put in there like a sociologist, or you need to put a psychiatrist in there, or what we need to do, because there's weapons, we need to put in their metal detectors in the school so they can't carry a weapon into the school, right? So you're sitting there talking about the problem before it gets out of hand. So now, say you've got someone in there with a political agenda who thinks, right, we're bringing a legislation about dole scroungers, like we've got too many on the dole, we want to get a few off, suspend their benefits and all that. So what we do, we talk to Rupert, get Rupert's little murderers down there, right, to go in there. We spread the news around that area, right, that this is all going on, that there's people in that area carrying knives and selling drugs and all that. And dole scroungers are behind it all because they're earning money and not paying taxes. And you're out there working hard and you're paying your tax and these parasites are living off you.
Yeah, they're out there winding everyone up, aren't they?
You're winding everyone up. They're sitting in the pub. They're all talking about it because you've laid the groundwork before. Then you get your fake people, well, you get your actors in. We've got the scripts because they've been given the script to read. They're copping a couple of £100 for dressing up in his hat and God knows what else.
Who was doing the script?
Right?
Chapman.
And Chapman used to write out the script. He'd sit down and he'd do a role play with them before he actually done the interview. So he's done a pre-interview, right? So it's just like rehearsing for a play,
rehearsal.
right? So you get the rehearsal, then you tape it as though it's real, then you get him to go around, get the guy to put an hat on and all that, because it's an actor who's read the script, like someone off the street who they know and, you know, you want to earn a few quid, right? They take a photo of him. Now you've got a photo, you've got the script, you've got the play.
Yeah.
And you've got the public all there applauding.
And
Best theatre in town.
and Murdoch giving it one.
Yeah, and Murdoch doing exactly probably the same as what his people were doing. I mean,
Well, you get him throwing him in a cupboard.
yeah, but I mean, you know, really what we're talking about here, right, is the power of the media. And what we're talking about is the power of men like Murdoch. Not only Murdoch, there's others been done. You know, there's a couple of them in jail over it.
Yeah.
Been done, right, for abusing that power and using it.
Robert Maxwell.
Yeah, using it for political gain, for monetary gain, and for sexual favours.
Yeah.
Yeah? And controlling, I mean, when you're talking about people that powerful, where they're even controlling, like the police, the judiciary, the MPs,
Yeah.
you know,
Well, the whole system's corrupt, isn't it?
and even the churches, because they got the dirt on the vicars, so the church can't go against them, so they go, right, well, if you start shouting too loud, these are stories going to pop up. And if you notice when the churches have started speaking out, what's happened? All of a sudden, loads of vicars get exposed as paedophiles.
Yeah.
It's a warning shot. Behave yourself, keep yourself in your place, or else we'll fit you up next.
Yeah.
And I think that sums it all up.
So what does he do then about the accusations that are getting thrown at him now about, you know, Murdoch's turned up and fucked brasses, ones that are being paid to do stories.
I can prove it.
Well, you can only say what you saw.
Yeah.
Can't you? You can only say what you saw.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's all you can do. And
I mean,
But what I can say is I saw fake stories being done because I was there when they was doing them, right? And I was paying my people to do them, you know, as actors.
Yeah.
I mean, even I done a couple.
Yeah.
You know, so what I'm saying is I wouldn't be saying that, and this is true. I've got my OBE. I could get a knighthood, you know, but I've probably slaughtered that now. But I don't care.
You should, you
What-
should.
what-
You
what-
should take you further for
what-
telling the fucking
what-
truth.
what
That
you-
whole thing should work.
What,
innit,
what
really?
you've got to look at now is what really matters to me now is the children's future. And if they're brought up, if you demonise them children, you tell a child it's bad, 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 then it makes it all right for that child to be bad. You've labelled that child and you've put him in an area where bad people live.
Yeah.
Right?
So it might as well be bad.
So, yeah, so if I'm going to be bad, let's be really bad so I can be top of the ladder in being badness. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So if he's got a blade and I want to be the top dog, I'm going to get myself a gun. And I don't know how to use that gun really because I don't get target practice. So I'm going to drive by in a car and I'll do it like that because I see it on the telly or the American films because look at the filth they're feeding the kids here.
Yeah, yeah.
Right? Fire it at the thing and it's bang and it's gone into a young girl who knows nothing about that world and dead. That is what media, how dangerous media is.
Yeah.
Now media can, instead of saying get tough, get tough, get tough, no, let's start giving them jobs. Let's start educating them better.
Yeah.
Instead of spending weapons on arming everyone up,
Yeah.
giving the police firearms and all that, instead of doing all that, put that money into education, put it into looking after senior citizens,
NHS.
put it into the NHS, you know, put it into a positive thing, creating jobs, industry.
Also a child youth parliament, which will give the kids a voice as well, because I mean you've had people in the past like Nambla, which was in I think South America somewhere, and then you had paedophile information exchange over here, and these are, you know, these are political groups that were campaigning for sex with fucking children
Yeah.
in 1978 or 70 from 76. I mean, I was 2 at that point. You know, what was my fucking point? Oh, what was the point? Yeah, the idea of a youth parliament. I mean, you've got people out there saying they want advocating sex with children, but the children ain't got no fucking voice back. Going, actually,
But-
we don't want that.
But it's the
Do you know
same.
what I'm saying?
But it's the same. If you've not got no voice, right, then you've got no power.
No, that's
Right.
you're exactly right.
So if I give you a voice, I'm now giving you power. So is it, if I'm in control, is it in my interest to give you a voice? No, it's not.
No.
It's in my interest to keep you dumb.
Yeah.
All right? Now, you've only got to look at around the world now. You look at India and the Arab countries where women ain't allowed. They just let them drive a car now. It's almost like the 14th century there, you know. So you're looking at all this and you're saying, well, what is the norm? Right? What is the norm? And you look at other countries like Denmark, Iceland, Sweden, places like that, Holland, where they seem to be more socially advanced
They
than
got
us.
they got their shit
Yeah.
together. I mean, even I watched a documentary by the fat bloke that done the one about 9/11. I can't remember his name now. No, the guy, fat guy, cat glasses, American geezer. He done a documentary. I can't remember what it was called, but he went round the world looking at the system and how they treat their people that were put in prison in different parts of Europe. They genuinely believed in rehabilitating them.
Yeah.
And then you even the diet, the food. If someone they gave them maternity leave.
But-
if they was depressed, they send them off
But,
somewhere.
but
I mean,
you look,
this is the, not
but you
Italy,
look at
Italy.
you look at
Italy was
you
one
look
of
at this, right? They talk about rehabilitation. Now I've had this debate on numerous occasions, right?
them. Yeah.
You get someone that going to college, they read about criminality. Now most of the books that are about criminality are sort of guesswork at best because they've never lived that life,
Yeah.
right? How many ex-offenders who have actually lived that life, like myself, have come out the other side,
Yeah.
made a success of themselves, but have travelled the journey, done the jail, so they know the truth,
Yeah.
not guesswork.
Yeah.
They've lived it.
Yeah.
If I got someone who's a drug addict, I don't want him having someone who's read a book about drug addiction telling him how to run his life, who's 19 years of age, just come out of college, and
Yeah.
he's a 40-year-old junkie.
Yeah.
I want a 40-year-old junkie who's been clean for 5 years, talking to that 40-year-old
Yeah.
junkie who tells him, this is the path I went down, let's see if we can help you.
Yeah.
Right? You've got to have... You must
You've had
have,
to have experienced it yourself if you're
must
gonna
have,
help someone else
look,
with someone.
you must have the educational experience, obviously, to be able to voice your view. right? So you can debate on it. But you've also got to have the practical experience, so you know what you're saying is factual, and not saying from out of a book from someone who's guessed about
That's
it.
right.
Now, they guess about my life, and people write about my life. I live my life. There's only one person to tell you about Bobby Cummins' life, and that's Bobby Cummins, because I lived it.
Yeah.
And I proved that from where I've come from then to where I am at now. And I've had young people sending me letters going, "You've really enlightened me, Bob, you've shown me a different way." Because I talk to them like human beings. I don't talk down to them.
Yeah.
I'm not above them, I'm not below them, I'm right by the side of them.
Yeah.
Right? And I treat them with respect, because if you want respect, you've got to treat other people with respect.
Yeah.
And I want to know their life. Because if I don't know their life, and I don't want to hear it from a social worker who's spent a couple of hours with them writing a report, I want to hear it.
Who's never took a drug,
But not only that, they've met them for an hour or 2 hours, write a little bit in a diary, "I'll see you in a month's time." No, I want to sit with that guy, and I want to spend a whole day with that guy, and I want to talk to him, and then maybe I'll need to spend a couple of more days with him.
Yeah.
And people talk about, "Oh, I got a 60%, I had this argument with somebody, went, "Oh, I've got a 60% success rate in my charity." I said, "I'm not interested in that. Obviously, they're all right. I want to know the 40% that you ain't got to."
Yeah.
Because they're the ones I want to work with.
Yeah.
The ones everyone's give up on.
Yeah.
Because that's what it is. But when you've got newspapers...
And they do like to give up on people.
Oh,
in all
they cherry
different
pick.
aspects.
They cherry pick because they want the funding.
Well, look at the little boy.
But you look at this now with the newspapers. Instead of newspapers pushing for that, going, "Hold up a minute, we want to get to the hard to reach lot, and we don't want academics sat in there psychoanalysing. We want people who've been there, lived it, and brought them out the other side."
Yeah.
If you've got an army, if you're training in an army, you don't send someone who's read a book on war. You send a professional soldier in who's gone through wars to teach them how to use the weapons.
Same with the care system.
Yeah.
You know, same with the care system. You don't want to go... I've been there myself, man, hanging off of bridges, walked into the hospital middle of the night, climbing the walls, and they sit you down in front of Sunbird and that, and you'll go, "Fucking imagine, I don't want to talk to you, you're swearing." It's like, you could run out there and go and jump off a bridge. The way you handle people is wrong. I don't want to fucking talk to you, because you clearly... have just been brought in because you're a person that ain't got...
Well, it's not only that. You've got to have a person who, you know, if you're dealing with a black youth, it's no good some middle-class white person sitting there talking to them about their life when they come off a council estate.
No.
What you need is someone of their own culture who lives in their own environment, who can relate to them, who's been through it themselves, grown up on that council estate.
Yeah.
Right? Not someone who's come from a nice little house in Weybridge, who pops into London now and again.
Throwing a complete opposite to someone.
And then
expecting
all
it to
sitting
be
there,
outcome to work.
all sitting there around a table, hypothesising on what you think is right and what should be done.
Yeah.
How can you talk about that if you've never experienced it?
Yeah, you can't.
It's like telling someone how to swim and you've never jumped in a swimming pool.
Yeah, yeah.
It's absolutely, you're going to drown.
Yeah, that's it.
Right,
exactly.
so, you know, the trouble is with this situation as it is, with this bent news and all that, what people are lacking is common sense to say, "Hold up a minute, is that for real? Is that for real?
Yeah.
Where's your evidence on this?"
Well, I think a lot of people are like
they're
that,
doing
but
it now.
But that's as far as they go.
Yeah,
with
but
it.
they're doing it now on social media. People are asking questions, and I'm very pleased they are. And not just eating it non-stop.
Yeah.
Right? People now, but it ain't going to happen until you get a few brave people who go, "Yes, that happened to me." People who experience it come out and say, "No, that happened to me." Right? That's fake. Right?
Yeah.
And be brave enough, because it takes a very brave man to risk every... Why should you risk everything? If you've got it sweet, why should you risk it? You think, "I'm sweet."
Yeah.
You know, why do I want to make waves for me?
You know,
But you know, Nelson Mandela, right, Martin Luther King, they could have sat back on their laurels and they could have had the life of luxury because they had all the followers, but they were brave enough to say what's wrong is wrong and what's right is right.
They had God in them, mate. They got conscience, that's why.
And that's... Yeah, but the people that are running these conglomerates, like the Murdochs of this world, ain't got conscience.
No, they ain't. That's what I'm saying.
You know,
We're dealing with two
do you know
different
something?
types of people.
There's a thing now, and it says about psychopaths, right? Now, the top people in the world that run these big businesses, they got to have psychopathic tendencies if they're not psychopaths, right? Because they push things forward and they don't care what damage they leave behind.
Yeah.
They've got a goal in there. They want to be top. They want to be a god.
Yeah.
They want to be top. So they don't care.
Narcissists.
Yeah, they don't want to. They don't care what they leave behind, the damage they leave behind. I mean, in one case, there was a guy who killed himself because of what was written in the newspaper.
We're talking about Arnold Lewis.
Yes.
Yeah,
Listen,
that was...
Yeah.
That was
Chopped
shocking.
himself.
That was shocking, especially when I only found out from watching the documentary that the guy had said he was going to commit suicide
Yeah.
if you do it. And
And,
then Murdoch
I went to Rod Tyler and I said, "That man is unstable.
Yeah, and so distraught.
And he phoned up Rupert Murdoch, and he said he was getting redder and redder.
Yeah.
And he said, "Okay, put the phone down." He said, "Run it,"
Why was
because
he getting redder?
Rupert Murdoch said, "Run it."
So
Why was
then
he
he's
getting
guilty of that
redder
man's
and
death,
redder,
isn't he?
Yeah.
What, when you said he was getting redder and redder, because I meant to ask you about that when I saw it on
Yeah.
the thing. What was he? Was Murdoch shouting at him?
Yeah.
Was an embarrassment red?
Oh,
like,
fuck
told
me.
red, or he was angry because it
he's
was,
fucking
he was being told fucking do as you're told, basically.
yeah, yeah,
And he went red out of embarrassment of
Yeah.
Murdoch having a go. at him.
yeah, yeah.
That's just what I'm saying about, when you've got people in that position, and as I say, most people are running these big conglomerates, are psychopaths.
Yeah.
And any psychologist will tell you that.
They can't be,
Right?
right? To have no
You've got to
like
be
that.
ruthless, totally devoid of emotion, of conscience, and everything to get to that place.
Yeah.
And if you haven't got that in you, it's like the drug cartels. The top guys in the drug cartels are all psychopaths. They'll torture you, they'll do anything to you because they want to be the top guy.
Yeah.
Right? And they don't care who they are. They'll do their own mother. They don't care who you are. You're going because I need to be there.
Yeah.
And it's just removing the obstacles.
Yeah.
And
And that's exactly what it's about, removing the obstacles to
That's
my
what
seat of power.
Murdoch's
Yes,
all
of course.
about.
But he's had all the power. I mean, where else can it fucking go?
Yeah,
now?
but the thing is, what you must realise, it's like an artist, if you like. Like you get Leonardo da Vinci or any famous artist, get any sculpturist out here, even down to someone in a night school, right? They're never satisfied with their sculpture. Leonardo da Vinci was never satisfied with the Mona Lisa. Never satisfied with his inventions. They always want to go that one beyond. There's always something beyond.
There's always
And that
a
is
little
part of their psychopathy. That is part of psychopathy, that you just, I want to be bigger. And in the end, you want to be bigger than yourself. So it's a perpetual psychopathy, if you like, of power.
Yeah.
And that's all that matters. With Murdoch, it ain't about money, it's about the power.
Yeah.
The power it gives him
Well, it's all he's got.
to play about with people's lives.
He may have all of that,
And-
but
and
inside
create-
he's got to be a fucking lonely, like, to know that you've not got anyone around you.
I would
Only
imagine.
for the fact that it's
I would,
what they can get
I
out.
would imagine that, and I'm saying this hypothetically.
Yeah.
Right, I would imagine he's probably one of the loneliest and paranoid people in the world
Got
because
to.
he don't know whether the woman who's with loves him or whether she's after his dough. He don't know if his best friend.
I think he does.
I think he don't know if his best friend's after going behind his back and stabbing him back. Every Caesar, every emperor of Rome, always worried about those closest to him. That's why they assassinated most of even their sons and daughters. They assassinated them.
Yeah.
Pharaoh's the same.
So
When you
it's
get
got
to
a
that
big
pinnacle,
downside to it.
oh
isn't there? Like,
yeah,
fucking
sure.
hell.
Sure, you're walking about and you're thinking, when's this? If it's going to collapse around you, am I going to be exposed for what I really am, an animal?
So he ain't
You know,
gonna sort
You
of say-
see,
he ain't gonna stop him.
I put it like this: The Guardian is the only newspaper I would read because the rest of them are all fucking full of crap.
Do you know, say, after, I'm not being rude to you, Ian, but after meeting you, Chapman and all the rest, I don't read newspapers.
Yeah.
I don't read because I just think it's all bullshit, and I
Well,
think
you
you're all
know,
at
you've seen
it.
it
Yeah.
firsthand. So
Yeah, and I just think I don't. What I will do is I will read in a court of law. I will read evidence,
Yeah.
right, so I can get both sides of the story.
Yeah.
Because even the defendant has actually got a voice. He can talk. Well, he hasn't got a voice.
Yeah.
He talks to his barrister, but he's got a voice.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he can appeal against it, and he can make that trial go on for a year.
yeah.
Like in the Mubarak inquiry, where Zahid Mubarak was murdered in Felton, I was sitting with Justice Keith, Mr. Justice Keith. That man never left a stone unturned. Never left a stone unturned. He wanted to know the facts. And he got the prison officers in the dock, he got other people in the dock, you know, and he let us question them as well. His advisors question them. And we set out, and I said that at the time, when I was called in an advisor, I said, I'll do it on one thing. I don't earn money off of dead children. I don't earn money off of grieving parents, and I don't do whitewashes. Now, if you want me as your advisor, because I was appointed by the...
Don't do what?
I don't earn money off of dead children.
Yeah.
I don't earn money off of grieving parents, and I won't do a cover-up.
Oh,
I
yeah,
won't do a
Yeah,
whitewash.
like the fucking-
Right? So therefore, the money they was going to pay me, right, I had it written into the contract, the money they was going to pay me, I donated to charity. I donated to charity. And I said, if I find out there's one bit of cover up here, I'm going to expose it to the media. Right? Now, they had a choice then, but Justice Keith, being the type of guy he was, he wanted to get to the bottom of it. He said, no, I want Bobby Cummins. I still want him as my advisor. We left the stone unturned. And in fact, at the end of that public inquiry, the family asked to see me, and they see the Justice Keith and the chairman and the other advisors, because there was a Muslim advisor, Luke Ferrari, and another one, Alistair Batts, who knew about prison. He was an area regional director of the prison service, so he knew how it works. He was retired. And we found that institutional racism, we found him guilty. And there was complaints made about me from the Ministry of Justice about I was pulling the prison officers onto the punch when I was questioning them and embarrassing them, because everything they said, because most of them, like, it come up about feeding, and he said, well, when we unlocked a feed, I said, excuse me, I said, did you say feed? So what? When we talk about feed, we talk about cattle. Is that how you see the prison? He went, well, yeah. And that was all over the newspapers. And they went, I entrapped him, which I didn't entrap him. And Justice Keith said, be careful, we've had a lot of complaints, you know, from the prosecutions, Crown prosecution and all that, the way you're, you know. I said, it's not, I said, look, I'm asking them a question. It's that, how they answer it, I've got no control over. Yeah. I'm asking them a straightforward question, but they weren't used to being questioned like that. Yeah. And so we got the truth out of them. And I tell you what, he wrote the full report, Justice Keith, and he never left the stone unturned. And that gave me faith in judges. Yeah. When you see a man like that, I thought,
so, you know, so there are some.
Oh yeah, that gave me faith in judges, because I thought, well, I'll tell you something. You know, if you was guilty with him, I think you would have gone away for an appropriate sentence. You would have got long sentences for heinous crimes. He was that sort of guy. He was right down the line.
Well, how a judge is supposed to be, basically.
Yeah, but if he had any doubt, he'd go through that and through that and through that until he got to the truth. And if he thought you was innocent, you're out the door. Yeah. He was one of them sort of people, you know. And that's why I've always respected Brian Keith. You know, he was an exceptional judge. Well, and he is a judge, but he was the chairman of that public inquiry. And if ever I had an public inquiry into the death of my child, I'd wish him to be the chairman of that inquiry, because nothing went past him. Yeah. But you get other cases where they're all sitting out in their wine bars and all that, and the old Bill going, or the prosecution going, look, you know, like this, we got to get rid of this guy. You know, the public are going mad over it. You know, you got to give him an harsh sentence. Or, oh, look, this guy connected, his family owned an oil, like this thing with Greggs. Yeah. The bakers, right? Yeah. Give him 13 years. He's just been given 9 years on appeal. Why? He's got 30 years of paedophilia with 10s and 14-year-old boys. They give him 13 years. Should have given him 30, right? Yeah. Should have given him 30 years. If you want this paedophilia to stop, up the sentences, right? Give them 30 years or 50 years, or give them life. Yeah. Right? Because they come out with, you get these probation officers and these social workers going, oh, the SOTP program, sex offender training program, right? You show me one of them that's worked with.
That ain't going to work.
It's never worked.
It's a fucking choice, mate. You're either it or you're not.
If a bank robber wins the lottery tonight, he stops robbing banks. If a drug dealer wins the lottery tonight, he stops selling drugs. A burglar wins it tonight, he stops selling drugs. But you cannot choose your sexual orientation. If the paedophile won the £1 million tonight, won the lottery tonight, he's going to use that money to groom kids. Yeah. Because he can't choose his sexual orientation. No. None of us can. We're born with it. Yeah. And we die with it. So you give them 30 years and you say, look, you know, I'm going to give you a life sentence. If you molest a child, you're going to get a life sentence. Or you rape a woman or rape a boy or whatever. Yeah. Going to give you a life sentence without parole. Yeah.
It's got to be a deterrent,
I'll tell you what,
it's got to
you would have that cut down like that. Or what you'd have them do, is like a lot of them do, move out to another country in Africa where they can get away with it.
Yeah, somewhere where the age of consent is
it's like lower.
Fucking 14 in Portugal, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's 11 in Nigeria, I think.
Yeah. But that's what I'm saying. If you want to do that, if you want to stop that, right, paedophilia is no problem. Yeah. You lock them up for life. All right?
You've got to make an example of them and let them know. This is what's going to happen.
And there's no going back from it. You're going to go.
Yeah.
Right?
No getting out,
and it's the same.
Time off for fucking.
And it's the same with these violent crimes where these elderly people are terrified to go out their houses because they're frightened of getting mugged and all that. You're caught with a gun. You like guns? Right, we're going to bring in like a 2-year sentence where you go and serve in the army in the front line, where you can shoot bullets at people, but they're shooting them back at you. Yeah, yeah. You'd had that stopped overnight. No one would want to go out there.
Yeah, yeah.
Right? Yeah. You can send them out there and say, like, go on then, if you want to do it, 3 strikes,
Yeah.
and you're in in the main
Yeah,
line.
Bobby,
Yeah.
why is it that I say things and they don't get reported?
Because it's not in their interest. Look, you're exposing the media for what it is. It's not in their interest. If they say, "Oh, do you know saying Ian Cutler's dead, right? Everything he said is the truth," and then everyone's going to go, "Well, why am I reading this newspaper? It's all nonsense. Throw it in the bin." Their money goes down straight away. MPs are going to go, "Well, we're not going to tell you any secrets anymore because you know you're going to fake them up." It's ruined. It ruined
So-
it. It takes away their power, Ian.
So, you know, like I'm.
You've put yourself on offer, basically,
Yeah.
right, to tell the truth.
Yeah.
Right. Now, let me tell you something. It's all right telling the truth, but a lot of people don't like to hear the truth. Because how would you feel as a member of the public if it all come out that what you've been reading every Sunday for 10 years or 16 years,
50.
and 50 years, and you've been reading a comic?
Well,
You're going to be so, yeah, but you're going to be so,
Yeah, see what
yeah,
I
but you're
mean.
going to be so embarrassed that you've been took in, you've been mugged off. Basically, you've been conned. No one likes to think they've been conned. If there's a lot of people get conned by con men, right? But they never go to the police about it because they're too embarrassed to admit they got had over.
Yeah.
So this is what they play on, your fear of embarrassment.
So okay. How do I get it out?
Well, we've got social media now. You can do it through that. You've got to get someone. Well, first off, you've got to get someone to take it to court, right? Which you're doing, right? So then it has to go through the judiciary, but also you've got the judges. If you get it out on the media, this sort of thing out on the media, the judge is going to be very iffy about a cover-up, right? So you're warning the judges here. You do a cover-up, we'll expose you as well.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. Because it's gone too far out there.
It's got
already,
yeah. So like people are going to start reading it, and people are going to go, "Cool, that's a bit strong," right? And also people are going to look at it and go, "Okay, you know, this guy's saying it, that guy's saying it, this guy is saying it. You know, he admitted he was a rascal in his early years and was involved in it. But you know, he's turned his life round. He's now an OBE. He's now a master of the Open University, honorary master of the Open University, a life fellow of the RSA. Well, what's he going to get out of it? He's getting nothing out of it. So, and I've always been honest. People know that since I've always played the game straight. If I'd done it, I mean, even in a murder trial, I went hands up to a manslaughter, but I didn't go hands up to carrying a cutthroat razor. When I was 16, I lost my job because I was fitted up, and I admit everything in my book. I admit everything I've done. But I didn't do that. I was fitted up by a 2-pence old bill, and that's why I don't like corruption.
Yeah, well, I know.
That's why I don't like
Quite
corruption.
a well-known person who was fitted up by the old bill. Could have done 18 fucking years.
Turned me on the life. In fact, that turned me on the life of crime, because shortly after that, I was done to carrying a sawn-off shotgun. I was the youngest person in Britain to be done with a sawn-off, right? And armed robbery. It's all on the internet. You can read it all. But I admitted to everything I've done, but I didn't do that. So if you like, my criminality began the day they fitted me up.
Yeah.
Because I thought, if you're going to make me bad, I'll show you how bad I can be.
Yeah.
And then I'd run North London after that. When I come out of there, guns and all that. I was, nothing. I was walking across Holloway Road with a sawn off on my shoulder. I didn't give a monkeys.
Yeah.
Because I thought myself, you want it, you can have it.
Yeah.
And I did an interview with
There's no respect back the other way because...
Well, I've done an interview with a specialist SWAT team, copper, who'd killed 5 people, and they was talking about that I killed and I run a nasty firm and all that. And I said to him, what we got in common? He said, I did mine to protect the public. I said, you left 5 grieving families there who were innocent. Yeah? I said, me and you are exactly the same. We've both killed, right? And we both left people behind grieving, because no matter if you're the biggest horrible person in the world, someone somewhere loves you, your mum loves you, or someone loves. So we've caused what we say we're protecting you against, right? Because all I could say, why did you cut people? Why did you shoot people? I could say, well, to protect my firm, because they was coming after us with hatchets and bayonets and all sorts of things. So I had to up the ante and carry guns. We can all justify it if we're in that world.
Yeah.
And Murdoch is justifying creating fairy stories for the betterment of the public, or because I care about society.
Yeah, That's what, yeah, you can claim
That,
that.
he claimed that I'm protecting society. Are you? When you're making it so bad that you're saying everyone's carrying guns, so the kid in the next block thinks, well, if everyone else carrying a gun, I'm going to get one. Now you've got another potential killer on the street.
and it does create a pressure.
Of course it does. It,
People do actually ask
it
themselves,
creates,
what am I gonna
it
do?
creates
Yeah,
a spectre of fear.
yeah,
And if you're afraid, you're dangerous.
yeah.
Because the most dangerous person you've got with a gun or a knife is somebody who don't know how to use it and who's frightened. Because if I got the hump with you as a professional armed robber, I'm going to shoot you in the leg. You go after a geezer who's never used a gun before and he knows you're heavy and he thinks he's going to get shot. He's got a gun, he's like that, and he's going bang, 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 and he's put 5 bullets in you and you're dead because he didn't know how to use it and he's done it out of fear.
Yeah.
So when you create a culture of fear, right,
That's the same.
that's the same.
Yeah.
And when you talk about prostitutes and all that, and the pimps slap them about, and they're earning all this money, like these stories that was in the news of the world, right? You've got young geezers who ain't got a job. They're thinking, well, there's a bird down the street, she's a little bit game, I'll knock her about and get her out on the game.
Yeah,
Yeah, because it's going to earn me money.
Yeah.
And then they're saying about these drug dealers earning loads of dough. There's a kid on the dole, can't get a job. The drug dealer says, I'll give you £400 a night, you come and work with me. What's he going to do? Get his dole money? He can't get a job because he's got maybe a little bit of a criminal record, right? So he goes and works for the drug dealers. Now he's created another 20 addicts.
yeah,
Common sense is what they don't use,
Yeah.
and they don't care.
yeah,
Because it ain't their children dying, it ain't their mothers crying, it's ours.
yeah.
It's their children dying and our mothers crying. It's about time we put a stop to it. And if this is what it takes, I'm up for it.
Yeah, so
I'm
am I.
really up for
So
it.
am I, Bobby, and I know fucking Ian is.
Well, he's the one who started it.
Yeah.
He was the first one to come out brave enough to start it.
12 years ago now,
Yeah,
innit?
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, man, fucking
Right.
hats off to you, mate, both of you.
And I'll
because,
do it for life.
Yeah. Right, can we?
yeah.
Yeah.
Bobby, thank you, mate.
No, you're more than
That's
welcome.
fucking excellent.
Absolute pleasure
That's
meeting
fucking
you.
excellent.
And
Ian,
I'm glad.
thanks, mate.
I'm glad people are waking up.
Yeah,
And I hope people wake up to this now.
yeah. Well,
'Cause
things
it-
like this is what's
'cause
gonna
it's their
do, 'cause
kids-
They need to hear it from people that
Because
know.
it's their kids who are going to be dying and their mothers who are going to be crying. And I don't want our kids crying, dying, and I don't want our mothers crying. Enough's enough.
Enough is enough, yeah. Bobby, thank you, mate.
You're welcome.
Thanks a lot. Ian, thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Enjoy your biscuit.